Did somebody hear me like violently swearing before calling myself an idiot? I really hope not.
Jack, I've only just
Okay.
unmuted you, but we are now unmuted, so hi everyone!
Hello, everybody, and welcome along to Motorsport Recently. My name is Jack McKenzie, and joining me on the mic is the wonderful Chris Whitfield and Caitlin Penny commentary. We're back from a short break after I went to the Gold Coast, but not actually for the race, just for some fun in the sun. However, I did see the track, and we have some interesting news stories for you today. We'll be looking at some of the races that have happened in the past couple of weeks. We'll be talking about some supercars news, which is always very interesting. We have some IndyCar / F1 news because it sort of just ties in with each other. We have some IMSA news, which is again always very interesting, and we'll have your miscellaneous stories and points that we will have missed, and we'll be covering at the end of the show. So hopefully, I wasn't caught swearing on camera. And
You weren't, don't worry.
Welcome along to the wonderful Chris Whitfield and Caitlin Penny. Come along to the show.
Hello.
Hi guys, sorry if you hear my dog barking in the background at all. He's sad because his mummy's gone out, so yeah. Boo-hoo.
Oh yeah, and I should also mention we have a new background which was designed by @Finicaro on Instagram. Link to his page will be in the description below. He does all the wonderful graphics you usually see on screen. He also does his own very wonderful graphics, and if you ask him nicely, he might be able to give you some merch. Outrage Box 763 in chat asking where is the merch. I mean, he's again asking where's the merch because I said that maybe I'd get Finicaro to do some merch because he does.
Where's the merch? We demand it right now, right now!
Actually, he wants a Triple Crown Racing do-rag. That's what he really wants.
Okay.
The merch. Poor thing.
Okay.
So maybe we can arrange a Triple Crown Racing do-rag. I'm not sure, but
What do we
but
want?
anyway,
Merchandise. When do we want it? Yesterday.
well, it's been for the last, I think, year. He's been asking that.
Wonderful.
But anyway, I think
When do we want it? Sometime between now and last year?
Okay, right. Should we start off with our first segment of the day, which is of course our red line headlines.
But first, I'd like to...
Okay, sorry. Right, but first, Chris, go ahead. Sorry, I'd already started playing the jingle. Never mind. Okay, Chris, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
But first, we've gotta do a
Yeah.
bit of a tribute. As Canadian Motorsports has lost a legendary figure this week, Jim Martin, the very famous voice of Motorsport, has passed away after a short illness. For nearly 30 years, he was the public address announcer at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park and was one of the formative voices of the original radio coverage of the American Le Mans series. He did some television work as well for CBC, CTV, and Global in Canada, working as a pit reporter and play-by-play commentator for various series, including Kart and Grand Am. Jim is survived by his family and many friends. Jim Martin was 64 years of age.
To Jim Martin, somebody who contributed a lot to motorsport, and I do apologise for my hastiness getting into our first segment of the day, but
That's okay.
We'll
I
be
actually
dedicating.
have one of the races he did. Because I actually have on VHS. I'm old. I have the 2001 Molson Indy that he did for Global.
Right, yeah, and I believe that's actually recently been uploaded to YouTube as well.
It is, yeah. He was in the booth for that, I believe, with Bobby Unser. Forget who the other driver was that the analyst was. But yeah, he was a fantastic. His most recent thing that I remember hearing him in, apart from being at Motorsport, was the IMSA VIR race in 2014, when the Prototype Challenge and GT classes had split races. He actually called those races for IMSA TV on the live stream, and
Right. I probably heard his voice without even realizing then.
he was a Canadian like motorsports icon, and we're really sad to see him go, and like he was genuinely one of the staples here in Canada, and he will be extremely missed.
Certainly will. And I think on that note, we'll be doing this one for him, and we should get into our first segment of the day, this time for real now. We'll be getting into our Red Line headlines.
Red line, you know you want it. You know you want it. You know you want it. Headline. It's red line headline. It's red line headlines. So there we go. Red line headlines. Cue Chris.
Yes, and let's start with Formula One, shall we? As Valtteri Bottas commanded the Japanese Grand Prix as Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel scrapped it out for second, with the Ferrari driver coming out on top. Charles Leclerc came together with Max Verstappen on lap 1, ruining both of their races. Mercedes have wrapped up the Constructors' title, and now it's a situation where one of their two drivers will win the championship. The top three were Bottas, Vettel, and Hamilton. Moving on to the Bathurst 1000 for the Virgin Australia Supercar Championship. Scott McLaughlin held off Shane Van Gisbergen in a wild one-lap shootout to claim the Peter Brock Trophy at the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000. Now, this is also the first ever victory for McLaughlin and also for Alex Prema, who becomes the first Frenchman to win the race. The top three here were McLaughlin and Prema, followed by Van Gisbergen and Tander in the number 97 Holden Commodore for 888, and James Courtney and Jack Perkins come home with a third place finish in the number 22 Boost Mobile Holden Commodore. Moving now to IMSA and the Action Express racing trio of Pippo Durrani, Felipe Nasr, and Eric Curran won a wild Petit Le Mans to cap off what was a fantastic IMSA WeatherTech Championship season. Acura Team Penske drivers Juan Pablo Montoya and Dane Cameron were crowned champions in DPI. The Porsche duo, number 911, were champions in GTLM, while Risi Competizione claimed race honors. And in GTD, Bill Oberlin claimed his record-tying 60th career victory in IMSA competition, while the title was claimed by Meyer-Shank Racing's Acura NSX GT3, giving Michael Shank his first championship as an owner. It should also be noted that some history was made in IMSA, as this became the very first time that a class winner actually failed to finish a race in IMSA, with Performance Tech Motorsports, or with Pierre-One Matheson winning in LMP2 despite the fact that he did not finish the event. Now moving on to NASCAR, and we had two races this weekend. Ryan Blaney holding off Ryan Newman by 7/1000ths of a second to claim victory in a crash-filled 1000bulbs.com 500 at Talladega Superspeedway. And then the very next week, Denny Hamlin held off a late charge by Chase Elliott to win the Hollywood Casino 400 at Kansas Speedway. And those are your red line headlines for Saturday, October 26th, stroke Sunday, October 27th, 2019.
What a cracking couple of weeks it's been in motorsport. It's been absolutely superb. The Japanese Grand Prix was fantastic. The Bathurst 1000 was amazing. Petit Le Mans, fantastic as well. The NASCAR race to Talladega, massively exciting. And Kansas wasn't bad as well. Where should we begin? Should we begin with Formula One?
Yeah, so with Formula One, I thought that it was oh golly, I have to remind myself of actually what happened in the Grand Prix, the Grand Prix now. What some of the main talking points were. I know it's only been, when was it? Was it last weekend or the weekend before? But still,
Oh, it's the weekend before, yeah.
already seeming kind of hazy for me. Okay, so, firstly, fantastic to see Bottas win. He outpaced Hamilton pretty much all the way through the weekend. That is truly, truly wonderful. As for Vettel, I thought he actually did a really good job, especially considering his form in recent races. And holding off Hamilton as he did, really not too bad. Hamilton as well, decent job, but really not Lewis Hamilton's spec. Alexander Albon, pretty much everyone has been praising him for how well he did, although admittedly he didn't really have that much competition with Leclerc's issues and Verstappen's issues, but you have to say a decent consistent drive, none the less. Carlos Sainz Jr., spectacular, wonderful. Charles Leclerc, I should speak about the incident between him and Verstappen, because it was clearly Leclerc's fault, and the fact that the stewards decided immediately not to investigate it, I have a feeling that they were expecting a lot of backlash for it, like there's been in previous races with previous decisions, so they didn't decide to make a decision. But in that situation, you have to remember that no decision is also a decision, and I think the fact that they then chose to go back on it, citing some new evidence. Let's face it, there was no new evidence. They're under so much pressure, the stewards with the FIA, and you have to say that it shows. But anyway, whatever the case, the right decision was made in the end. I'd say. Then
I
you
just
have.
want to make a... Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
A couple of comments on the Leclerc incident. So, well, I mean, obviously, yeah, it was mostly Leclerc's fault. But to be fair, also Verstappen, I think he kind of put himself in a bad position way too early on, and it wasn't entirely Charles Leclerc's fault because he got behind the car in front and the air came off his car, so he couldn't turn in as well, and he went into the side of Verstappen, which I don't know. I feel like that was a bit of a risky thing to do on lap one.
Debatable.
In my opinion, on the first lap, you have to provide for things like that. Verstappen was taking a very normal lap one line. I can't see any way to apportion any blame onto him at all. And yeah, I have to say 100% Leclerc.
It's that old racing adage of you can't win a race in the first lap, but you can certainly lose it.
Exactly.
This is exactly what happened.
Well put, Chris.
And also, shall we talk about Renault?
Renault, oh my
that
goodness, this has been a real story that's been blowing up recently. So of course, just to remind you, Renault Racing have been running a brake bias system where basically the brake bias automatically adjusts itself partway through the lap. They claim that they've been running this for years, and they probably have, although it was brought to the attention of Racing Point relatively recently. They protested it, claiming that it was a driver aid, and indeed it was. It was a driver aid. It was ruled to be so, and therefore it was outlawed. However, it doesn't really make sense that they were penalised for that one race at Japan, because they have been running it for years. So I suppose if you were going to penalise them for this one race, then you'd probably have to penalise them for all of the races that they've run the system in. But that would just be ridiculous. You can't disqualify a team from several years of Formula One competition. It would be one of the biggest scandals in history. And for something as minor as, oh, we didn't realise this classified as a driver aid, that's well and truly over the top. However, it also doesn't make sense that it's just the Japanese Grand Prix, or the Japanese Grand Prix in particular, that they get penalised for, because the Japanese Grand Prix, they actually did really, really well in, and I feel that it's unfortunate, to put it mildly, that this has to be the race they get penalised for out of all of them. But it is what it is, I suppose. I think that it's all been a big mess, and I think it shows that the FIA really need to be clearer on their rules of what constitutes a driver aid. But at the end of the day, the teams do have to stick to those rules as well, so I think fair enough, in my opinion.
Where did they finish on the road?
I believe they were...
Like, where did they finish on the road?
I believe they were something like 6th and 10th. I've just looked it up. 6th and 10th.
We have a couple of comments in chat right now. So this, very long channel name, as he would prefer to be called. One thing I have to say is that Ferrari, after the summer break, have been very, very good. But if they somehow manage to win at least 2 more races, that will be embarrassing for Ferrari after losing so many points. They are basically repeating the 2018 season, but in reverse, doing badly in the first half and doing well in the second half. Also, these seasons are more concentrated on tyre consumption than the racing itself. Like, are we watching car racing or tyre racing? Max always thinks that he can win a race in turn 1. He just goes for it no matter what, no matter where he's going. He knows that Leclerc won't slow down, so why even try to pass around the outside? And yeah, Renault cheated, Daniel F-bombed in a yellow suit, and that's made many people on Twitter very sad. By the way, allegedly, Grosjean used the same brake bias system on his Lotus back in 2015. Like, why is this problem only being discovered now? And yeah, like, how is this not being noticed? The cars aren't the cars inspected and everything, so how is this not being picked up before?
Yeah, well, one thing that people have been saying on Twitter is, so basically, the car's not illegal, but they've decided to disqualify them because why not? That's not what's happened, because the car is illegal. It does constitute a driving aid. It's just that it's only been picked up now for some reason. So
if that's the case, they would have excluded Renault from the entire season. If they had known about this for the entire season, they would have taken away the constructor points.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's too late to do anything about it now, but I mean, there's not really anything they can do. I mean, as you said, you can't disqualify them from literally years of Formula One. I mean, that would have so many implications. And I guess if they hadn't noticed it up until now, I guess that's sort of tough luck, really. Can we talk about the Bathurst 1000? Yes. Oh my goodness. What I was going absolutely meant. Fantastic drive by Scott McLaughlin and Alex Premer, and my god, the last lap was exciting. When that Nissan
Can
went
I just
into the...
say,
Yeah, go ahead.
how exactly is, like, What is in the water in New South Wales that you guys always seem to deliver an
Fluorine,
amazing finish at the mountain?
actually. Whatever it's called, I don't actually know.
I want some of
But
that
yeah.
fluorine.
I mean, it was unbelievable. Bathurst always delivers, and it's delivered again.
Damn right it did.
We'll talk about the safety car controversy later because we have a story on it later. But my goodness, fight to the finish, absolutely superb. And when that Nissan went into the wall on the second to last lap, I thought there's no way they're going back to green. They're going to call it now. But they went back to green, and then McLaughlin had to fend off, I think it was Van Gisbergen at the time. And it always finishes well. I love Bathurst. And actually, when this was on, I was watching the Japanese Grand Prix and the Bathurst 1000 simultaneously because it was on the TV in the restaurant we were in, and we were watching the Japanese Grand Prix on the iPad. And I wasn't sure where to look actually because it was exciting wherever I looked. My
Imagine
goodness.
watching Formula One when Bathurst's on.
Yeah, I know everyone in Europe complains that oh no, we have to get up at 6 a.m. to watch the Japanese Grand Prix. Come on, let us have one of our 6 races a year where we get to watch it live at a proper time. And also bear in mind, it's on the day of the biggest race in Australian motorsport, so just give us a break. Don't complain. But yeah, the Bathurst 1000, absolutely superb. I don't actually know what else to say about it, other than how did the 2 Tickford cars come together again? Same cars as well.
That one was on Chaz. I'm sorry, but that one was on Chaz. He just basically tripped over. Was it Cam Waters behind the wheel of the
Waters,
6?
yeah, the 2 of them came together again because I think it was Cam Waters anyway. But the 2 came together again, just like they did at Pukekohe, and
last year, in fact,
they do it last year as well.
at the elbow, at Forest Elbow.
Wow.
And also, like, the 888 had the best strategy, but unfortunately, that safety car kind of caught them out a little bit. They couldn't really get back in the run. They still finished 4th, but yeah, unfortunately, it just didn't really work that well.
Yeah.
But my goodness me, like it's Bathurst. I expect a good race, and it always delivers one.
Oh,
Like
question.
even when the 12-hour had to be like red flagged right at the end, it was shaping up to be an exciting finish, and like even then they still made the right call. I still contend to this day they made the right call, but I don't understand. Like, there must be something in the water in Australia that at Bathurst, because or maybe the spirit of Brock lives on and always gives us one hell of a show.
Yeah. Now, question: how many times have Alexander Rossi and James Hinchcliffe done the Bathurst 1000? Is this their first 1000?
This is the first one, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they did all right for their first 1000. They finished 18th.
And apparently they may be coming back next year with Walkinshaw and Andretti.
Oh, please do come back. We like having them around, and I know
they've been saying that they might, just because like from all the interviews I saw, they've been wanting to come back, and yeah, it's gonna be. I'd love to see some other IndyCar drivers run, like put Will Power in and maybe Simon Pagenaud in a
one of the DJR cars.
One of the DJR Team Penske Mustangs, or perhaps a Dixon, Scott Dixon in a like put Scott Dixon in a Commodore.
The thing is, though, actually, I think there was a little bit of talk about Chip Ganassi possibly getting involved with supercars, so we might even see Scott Dixon on the supercars grid in the not too distant future. Also, back to Alexander Rossi and James Hinchcliffe coming back. I'm not sure how many of you guys know, but Hinch and Rossi did a podcast together. It's called Off Track with Hinch and Rossi, and I'd love to see Thim come in the car as well with the 3-driver lineup, so we can have the entire lineup of Hinch and Rossi in the car. Now, unfortunately, 1000 because we have some more comments about it. Everyday Gamer says, from what I heard, RP Racing Point wanted to use the system, asked the FIA said it was banned, and they protested against Renault, and then the channel with a very long name responded, then Renault should get the same punishment as Briatore.
Not necessarily. It's not like he rigged the race. It's not like they rigged the race results.
Yeah, it's just that they didn't understand the regulations, obviously. And yeah, that is, that's not really acceptable for a Formula 1 team, and they really should have done what Racing Point said and asked. Excuse me. But still, yeah. Also, sorry for dropping out for a while. I may be in and out depending on what my dog decides to do. So, yeah, sorry. This is a bad day for this.
That's okay.
But anyway, yeah, no, it's weird situation with Racing Point and Renault, and I feel sorry for Renault, but I'm glad that they weren't disqualified from, like, the last 4 or 5 years of racing. Could you imagine that?
It would have been horrible. Would have been horrible, yeah.
Would have caused a riot,
Anyway,
surely.
right, should we move on to Petit Le Mans?
Yes. First of all, it was another classic race, but in prototype, they got the BOP really very wrong, because here's the thing. I'm sitting up because I'm about to say stuff.
Okay,
oh gosh,
that's when you know it's getting serious.
Primed and ready, right? Here we go.
So, the Cadillac teams, specifically Action Express and Wayne Taylor Racing, have been, shall we say, vocal about the BOP changes. About the fact that they no longer have their advantage that they had when the merger happened. So they basically spent most of the season in rounding out the back half of the top 10. It seems awfully suspicious that they wind up getting a alleged 1.6 horsepower BOP brake, and then wind up 2 seconds faster, especially the Whelen car, 2 seconds faster at the start of the race than anyone else.
IMSA doesn't often get the BOP wrong, but this is exactly what happened last year. They seem to be just giving in to Cadillac, so whenever Cadillac complain, they make a complaint, obviously, and they get the changes they want done, and then Cadillac end up with a BOP advantage. It's exactly what happened last year with Core Autosport. Cadillac got scared, they complained, IMSA gave in, and if pay attention, then they do very well. Come on. So,
and also,
IMSA get the BOP wrong.
And also, there was another thing. The late race contact between the 911 Porsche and the 31 Cadillac. 31 Cadillac was nowhere near the corner. To any other to any other official, that would have been avoidable contact. Because He went to the inside. The Porsche turned in, and basically, like, the 31 punted him. But explain to me how that's no further action. How that gets no further action. But if someone else were to do it, it would be. It would be a drive-through penalty for accident responsibility.
Yeah, I don't know how that's I mean,
Yeah.
That was not a penalty.
There have been a few weird decisions in sports car racing this year. I'm looking at you, Lamont. Corvette.
Kidding.
But yeah, anyway.
And also, can I just say, what happened in P2 this season,
rubbish.
embarrassing, more like.
No.
Because, I'm sorry, but...
Because of Cadillac, basically.
Well,
money and,
I'm just upset that I didn't get to see...
And they screwed...
Sorry. Yeah, I'm just upset that I didn't get to see much of the race this year, but, you know, time zones.
Yeah, same with me, actually. But yeah, so this is what happened. Cadillac screwed over Motorsport last year, and then, well, then they basically set up LMP2 to be pretty terrible this year. I mean, so pretty much everything was...
Although apparently, according to I have a little team chart that I've done. For the silly season. For DPI, we have the 2 Acuras, the 1 Wayne Taylor Cadillac, we think, the 2 Mazdas, the 2 JDCs, the 2 Action Express ones, the 1 Juncos Cadillac. We're not sure about the Nissan Legiers. And perhaps 1 to 3 customer Mazdas. For DPI.
Sure.
For LMP2, it's interesting. Yeah, like, for LMP2...
Yeah, because IMSA's finished for the year. Sorry, I hadn't even registered that it had finished. Duh.
It sadly has.
Yeah. We already have a calendar for next season, I believe, but not a full entry list.
Yeah, they're actually accepting entries now.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I see that
For LMP2, here's what's been confirmed to me. Pier 1's got 2 cars, 2 Oricas.
Oh,
Performance
really?
Tech's got 1. Yep.
Okay, so we've got a bigger LMP2 grid next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also going to be a Rick Ware Riley. Cody Ware actually confirming that to me a couple days ago. Dragon Speed's interested, but I'm putting them as a question mark. As is Jackie Chan DC for the Florida races.
Okay. That's
Again with a question mark.
Hopefully we see them.
My team chart has 14 DPIs, 9 LMP2s, which may be a bit ambitious, but we never know. For GTLM, I have 2 Corvette, 2 Porsche, 2 BMW, 1 to 2 Fords with a question mark next to their names because they might be coming back. They might not, though. Not sure yet. And then the lone Ferrari from Risi, which is a question mark again.
Reese is always a question mark, basically.
Yeah. Ever since Matthew Vaxivier decided to center punch the 60, decided to center punch the Risi car at Le Mans.
Anyway, I want to just run through the championship results. I have them open here. So The IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship champions by class. The number 60 Acura Team Penske car won DPI. PR won Matthias and Motorsport won LMP2. The 912 Porsche won in GTLM, and the 86 Meishank Acura won in GTD. Now, if we look at the Endurance Championship, the number 31 Whelen Cadillac took out the championship, and in LMP2 it was Performance Tech. Then in GTLM it was the 67 Ford, and in GT3, well, basically it's GT3. The number 33 Riley Mercedes, and then in the IMSA Sprint Cup Championship, that championship was won by the 86. Okay, let's and I just want to touch on a couple more things, and then we can move on to NASCAR. Well, okay, so the finish to Petit Le Mans, that was fantastic, as was some of the on-track action as well.
This whole season has been, in fairness.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get round to writing a season review at some point. And do it in the style of some of the other... And do it in the style of the other season review videos that I've uploaded so far. If you look down in the past couple of weeks or something, there's a WEC season review and a Formula One mid-season review. I'd say they're pretty good. They're worth checking out. So, and hopefully we'll get one done for IMSA. It doesn't look like we'll have time to do one for Formula E, but I might do a review on Formula E as a sport as a whole instead. That might be an idea if I can get round to
I'd have
to
a lot to
writing
say
it.
on that.
Yeah, I have a lot to say as well, actually. And yeah, should we talk about NASCAR briefly, and then we can get into our feature story?
Yeehaw!
Right then, I'll take that as a yes. So,
Sorry.
That's really good. I enjoyed Talladega a lot.
Yeah,
It's fast. It's very fast.
the driving standards seem to have just gone out the window.
Yeah, a little
during the
bit, but it was good to watch.
During the playoffs, it seems the driving standards, just basically fall off a cliff.
You mean there are driving standards in NASCAR at all?
Yeah, well,
That's
yeah,
that's a serious
races.
that's a serious question, because you do seem to be able to get away with absolutely everything in NASCAR.
yeah. I
Especially
actually,
if your owner pays the bills.
But what do I know?
I actually don't. I don't really care about the driving standards in the playoffs at Talladega because it was fantastic entertaining, and I loved the photo finish at the end. Very 007, the split there. Very, very James Bond.
Yes.
Kansas wasn't as good, but anyway.
Kansas was okay.
Good as Talladega.
That late yellow actually kind of killed the chances. Because Chase Elliott looked like he was going to win the race, and then unfortunately a mechanical issue for Bubba Wallace, he actually lost a wheel coming off of turn 2, and spun into Matt Tifft. By the way, I should mention Matt Tifft will not be racing this weekend at Martinsville. He was transported to hospital for an undisclosed illness. He got released earlier today, and I'm just gonna... Yeah, basically, he got released from the hospital. Just hopefully he's okay. Matt Crafton, I believe, is going to be driving the car this weekend. The number 36.
Right. Okay.
Let's hope that Matt Tifft is okay.
Certainly. And I think on that note, we should move on to our feature stories, because we do have some interesting ones.
Yes, and let's start with Jack.
Right. So following the Bathurst 1000, controversy ensued involving DJR Team Penske and their driver Fabian Coulthard. Coulthard was accused of intentionally holding up the field under the safety car to a better getaway, so that would obviously help McLaughlin's race out. Coulthard explained that it was down to car troubles and that he was instructed to slow down by the team. The incident was investigated, and while McLaughlin and Prema were able to keep their win, Fabian Coulthard was relegated to 21st, and the team was hit with the biggest fine in Supercars history, with a $250,000 deficit being handed out. $250,000 deficit being handed out to them. 300 points in the team's championship. So pretty hefty for DJR Team Penske. If it was a meticulously planned out scheme, then it has yielded a very, very high price.
Can I just say, like, playing devil's advocate here, I may be in a minority here, and I actually didn't see anything wrong with the car. I didn't see anything wrong with what happened. I did see a couple of trails of smoke behind Fabian's car, but if they penalized the Penske cars for doing that, then they may as well have penalized Giz as well, because he was the one that benefited as well, to avoid the double stack. I didn't see any intent. Honestly, I did not see any intent.
I know, but Van Gisbergen, Coulthard still held up the entire rest of the field, so McLaughlin could get away.
Not necessarily.
Well, it was a massive train of cars as McLaughlin got away. So
I think the pit lane rules need to be fixed for full course, for safety car periods. They've been needed to be fixed for years, honestly. If I'm brutally honest, they've needed to be tinkered with. When you go into the pit lane, it should be pit lane closes, first lap around, you go into the lane, whichever one of your team cars to avoid the double stack, and then the other teams stay out for the extra lap to avoid the stack, or just have 2 pit boxes. It's simple.
Yeah, there we go. I'm back. I was just fixing something. My apologies. Anyway, you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, whatever the case, DJR being hit with a massive fine, $250,000 fine. However, I reckon that is probably a drop in the ocean for Team Penske anyway.
That's a bit harsh, though, I think.
Yeah, I know, but
it is a bit harsh.
They did cost a lot of drivers in the biggest race of the year, so I guess it's sort of justified. 300 points in 2 championships are pretty hefty as well.
And I suppose you could see it as race fixing as well, which is very serious.
Yeah. So whatever the cause was, it cost. Whatever the cause was, it did cost a lot of people, and perhaps that fine is justified. Anyway, I have some more supercars news. Gary Rogers Motorsports have announced that they will not be competing in the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship in 2020. The team were unable to put a business plan together in time for the renewal of the racing entitlement contract. Due to the rising cost in supercars, the team were unable to continue racing. Just ran the Volvo program. They're currently running a TCR Australia program, and they even put together the S5000 program. Unfortunately, they will not be returning to supercars, and that is ridiculous that a team like Gary Rogers has had to leave because of the rising cost in supercars. I think that's something they need to fix.
A cost cap would be good. Basically, a cost cap would be good anywhere, even in Formula One.
Especially
a cost
in Formula
cap
One.
would work. Yeah, because and the racing entitlement contract, that sounds a lot like NASCAR's charter system. and we've seen there that the car counts have gone down as a result in NASCAR because of that charter system. This is the same thing in Australia, and like.
And also the thing is, what I find ridiculous is that there's no prize money from supercars racing. You get absolutely nothing at the end of the
Seriously?
year, and I think that needs to be rectified. Yeah.
Well, what are they doing it for?
I'm not
then?
joking. They get all their money from sponsorship, and they do it for the glory. That's it.
That is
They get
amazing.
all of them. It's ridiculous, and it needs to be rectified. I don't know why this was a thing. And I heard this when I went to the Newcastle 500 last year, and I was in the Matt Stone pit box, and they said there's no pit box, and I was so there's no prize money. I was absolutely outraged by that.
No
And that's
pit box.
ridiculous.
Oh,
There's no
sorry.
pit box. Yeah, that would be even more outrageous. But luckily, there
All
is a
I
pit
know is
box.
I'm gonna miss those Valvoline Commodores.
Yeah.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Honestly, one of my favorite of theirs was the Volvo. I loved that Volvo. It was and Scotty McLaughlin, he drove the wheels off that. He definitely gave her some gen. And
Yeah.
well, you know the rest.
Yeah. We have a few more people checking in chat. We have Crazy Racing saying hello and just telling us that the Rotax Grand Finals are now over. I'll have to give that a watch at some point. Also, we have Everyday Gamer saying, giving his insight again, saying, from the stewards report, I think they slowed down by 30 plus seconds, which I'm assuming refers to the Fabian Coulthard incident, but whatever the case. I'd probably agree with you on that one. We have a last little bit of supercars news. And it's another end of an era for supercars racing, as Nissan will no longer be in the main series for 2020. Kelly Racing have elected to race the Ford Mustang in the main series, while the aging Nissan Altimas will continue to race in Super 2, which is a big shame.
To be fair, were the Kellys not running with factory support this year? I seem to recall they weren't.
No, they weren't. They're doing that all by themselves now. So it is an aging car with no development.
They cut off the factory funding, I think. Oh, when did they do that?
They did that actually before the start of the season, actually. So, because I remember reporting on that, actually. So they did it before the start of the season. It was actually early this year, I believe, or just late last year. And there's no factory support for the Nissan. So the only development that car has received was an aero update just before the Bathurst 1000. And I think that's the only update that's been given to that car this year. Which, I mean, it's a shame, because I think Kelly Racing, they are beginning to get the Nissans figured out. I mean, they're climbing higher and higher up the grid, but the factory support's not there anymore. And we see those cars do pretty well in Super 2. Bryce Fullwood won the Super 2 race at Mount Panorama very easily in a Nissan Altima, so it's a shame we couldn't have them stick around a little longer and see where the development of that car would go.
It's good to know that he said he still won it, because, well, you know what happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still, I'm still contending as well that that Bryce Fullwood won the Super 2 race. And
oh wait, did he get disqualified?
He did.
Oh, okay. That's
For ignoring yellow flag procedures, apparently, under for going too fast under yellow flag. When he set the Super 2 record.
Oh, right. Well, nice to see they're being strict
which
about that,
I think
actually.
is a rubbish penalty, if I'm honest.
Well, was this in qualifying?
No, this was on the last lap of the race.
Oh, right. Well, you know, it's nice to see that they're being strict about the yellow flag procedures, because when I was at Donington at the weekend, and we'll come on to that in a bit later, it seemed that no one was obeying yellow flags at all, and there were some really like scary situations. So, you know, while it's disappointing and probably not the best, well, definitely not the best way to seal a race victory, or lose a race victory for that matter, it's, you know, it's good that they're taking that seriously, because marshal safety, I think, is probably the most important thing in motorsport these days.
And then I just want to come back to the Nissan thing. I mean, it's a shame that with the Car of the Future thing that they've been running for a while now. I mean, it was supposed to bring more manufacturers into the series, and we did get a few more manufacturers. We got Nissan, Mercedes, and Volvo. But it's a shame they made that, and now everyone's just ended up back in a Ford and a Holden again. So hopefully we'll see some more manufacturers come in the future.
The thing is, Volvo was disgruntled that their cars weren't running up front, so they took their toys back to their Swedish pram and screwed Gary Rogers. Then Mercedes just was never competitive. I'm sorry, but the credit to Betty and the folks at Erebus, but unfortunately that car was really not as competitive as they would have liked.
Didn't they not have factory support for that, though?
No.
They had no factory support, so that's why. So the Volvos had factory support, the Nissans had factory support, the Mercedes didn't. So I reckon with factory support, that car could have been really good. But Mercedes didn't invest in it, so anyway.
I'd love to see Mazda and Kia in V8s.
Oh, please bring a Mazda 6 and a Kia Stinger. I
love a Kia Stinger. Oh.
I have a notes that I made on make a video about the top 5 cars that would make excellent supercars, and I think that might be a good video when I get around to making it. I think that's enough of supercars news for the moment, because we have some IndyCar / F1 news.
So,
Caitlin.
McLaren Schmidt-Peterson are sending personnel to the Mexican Grand Prix, which has promoted speculation that they're going to make an announcement about Patricio O'Ward. Marcus Ericsson confirmed that he won't be returning to Schmidt-Peterson for 2020 as he goes to the Ganassi stable. This presumably leaves a seat open at McLaren's new IndyCar team, and with personnel being sent to Mexico, the racing community is expecting Patricio O'Ward to break his Red Bull ties and go to race with McLaren in IndyCar. And I say that is likely, and I also say that's a good idea. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
And I think actually O'Ward left Red Bull.
Yep. Well, more like Red Bull dumped him, actually, because they can't accept that not everyone's going to win Super Formula. But yeah.
No, obviously, no, you can't. I mean, in Super Formula, I have a lot of people to contend with, i.e. Naoki Yamamoto, probably one of the Nakajimas. I think that... Is Kazuki Nakajima doing Super Formula? I can't remember.
No, I think it's Daisuke. The main Super Formula guy has been Daisuke Nakajima, I believe.
I thought it was Kaz.
Kaz
is running for Tom's, isn't he?
Is he? They may both be doing it. Let me just look that up. Oh, yep. Kazuki Nakajima is doing that. And actually, Daisuke
Their
Nakajima
final is this weekend.
Is not doing it now, so I must have got that completely wrong. My apologies.
Yeah, one of the Nakajimas, Naoki Yamamoto, and a variety of other talented drivers that he had to contend with. But so yeah, it'd be good to see him in IndyCar. The only other thing that I can think it could possibly be, but then again that would require IndyCar personnel to be there as well, is that they are going to announce maybe something about an IndyCar race at the Mexican Grand Prix track, which is probably unlikely. But that's the only other thing.
But not unprecedented, because they have run there before.
Yeah, exactly. So
I don't think that would have so much to do with McLaren, though.
I don't know why it would either, unless they were going to announce both. I don't know. It's a crazy world.
Now, who wouldn't? Now, honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing a. I would not mind seeing a race at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, because that was a good track when Kart ran it when Kart and Champ Car ran it from 2002 to 2007. It was actually also really good for NASCAR, if you can believe it.
It's good for Formula E as well.
It is, yeah, it's one of the best races in Formula E. It's staying on the calendar, yeah? Formula E?
I believe so.
I don't think it is. Okay.
Thank God.
No, it is. We actually we talked about the this on the previous episode when the Hong Kong thing happened, and yes, Mexico. We thought it was being dumped off the calendar, but it is actually staying, if I remember that correctly.
God.
Okay, that's good because
That was the best race this season.
Pretty much the only unique circuit on the Formula E calendar, apart from maybe Adria in places and also London, but that's about it.
Berlin. Oh well, and Berlin as well.
Well, yeah, but Berlin doesn't really feel that different, even though it is.
True. Anyway,
Well, it's an airport.
So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, that's going to be interesting, and that's good. Another thing to do with Formula One that's just popped up actually is that at Mexico, there's been a little incident with a stomach bug going around. Apparently, something like 150 mechanics and team members have been struck with the stomach bug, and several of them have had to pull out the weekend in order to recover, which is a shame. It was actually affecting Pierre Gasly, although not badly. He had to miss the first part of free practice 3 today, although he did eventually manage to muster up the energy to go out on track, and actually flew to the 7th quickest time in the session. So not only did he overcome the illness, he also was one of the fastest midfield running drivers that there was today. So good job from him. Hopefully we don't have too many people missing from the Grand Prix in the end.
Yeah, apparently the members involved were most prominently from Toro Rosso, McLaren, and Renault.
Yeah, I wonder if there was something to do with the food in those stables. I don't know. Maybe food poisoning or something.
It's apparently a viral stomach flu.
Okay, so it's not food poisoning. Well, anyway, it sounds very infectious but not very severe, so just a bit of a nuisance, really.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of nuisances, the quote from Lewis Hamilton this week about Formula E.
All right. Well, well, we're going to cover that in miscellaneous stories and points that we missed, and are therefore covering now Tian being in a few minutes. But we do have an IMSA story first, so I believe Chris has that.
We have 2 of them actually, and they're very big.
Nice.
One is a silly season. One is a silly season update. And that is that Jan Magnussen has announced that he has left Corvette Racing after 16 years with the team. Since beginning at Corvette Racing in 2003, Magnussen has raced with the team on 156 occasions, taken 35 wins and 4 championships. He also took 4 victories at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, a win at the Daytona 24-hour, and 4 wins at the 12 Hours of Sebring. Magnussen said, quote, "I'm so grateful not only for all we accomplished together, but for all off-track memories as well. When you spend 16 seasons with a team, you become like family. Corvette Racing has been my American home for a very long time, and I'm so thankful that I got to spend such a long and prosperous time with a fantastic group of guys and gals on the team. Even though this is the end of the road at Corvette Racing, I'm not done behind the wheel just yet. Racing's in my blood. It's a part of who I am, and I intend to continue to keep racing in 2020 and beyond." Magnussen is not the only driver out of the job at the moment. As former Ford drivers, Ryan Briscoe and Richard Westbrook might have had to line up outside the job center had it not been for a potential drive with Wayne Taylor Racing. After Jordan Taylor, who's actually in line for the seat vacated by Magnussen, cleared off, and Renger van der Zande is potentially clearing off as well. Perhaps Magnussen may find himself in a DPI seat in 2020. Only time will tell. Oh boy!
It's gonna be interesting, yeah. It's, to be honest, it's fantastic. I still think that Jan Magnussen very much has it. He's very much a strong competitor, despite his age. So it would have been a shame if he wasn't going to be on the grid next year. Although, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he goes for. Would he be quite as strong in a DPI? Who knows? Maybe we're yet to find out.
I think he will, actually. I think he will,
He's
because
run a
think about
prototype
it.
before. He's run a prototype
Yeah,
before.
and also as well.
Like, he
so...
ran with Kevin Doran's with Kevin Doran's Daytona prototype team back in 2003. Like back in 2003, he actually in 2003 and 2004 he actually ran with Kevin Doran's Daytona prototype team in the Grand Am series. So he has experience in a prototype.
Yeah, but he was much younger at the time, and it was a long time ago. So.
And he hasn't lost anything, though. I will say that.
We'll see.
Not
We'll
lost
see.
anything.
He's raced in Formula 1 as well, so he's no stranger to downforce cars. And even then, the DPI cars, they're not that much more powerful than a GTLM car. They just have more downforce. So what I think will happen is that Magnussen will end up in an endurance drive, perhaps, for maybe Action Express or something like that.
No,
and
they've
then...
already confirmed. They've already confirmed they're going to be only down to one car. They're down to one car. And their endurance driver has actually been confirmed as Felipe Albuquerque.
He might be a fourth driver at the Rolex 24.
Perhaps.
Yeah. And then...
I could also see him in maybe one of the customer Mazdas. If he's in a customer Mazda next year. Because I know Spirit of Daytona is interested in running a Mazda. They just have to get that little sponsorship thing sorted out. But he's driven prototypes before. There's no problem. Like, plus, he's very quick. And, like, I don't think he's gonna lose any. I don't think he's lost any of his skill or speed.
Yeah, of course.
And,
he's Jan Magnussen, so yeah.
And all I can say is, Is
Okay.
it January yet? Is it January yet?
That's a weird noise, but I too am looking forward to.
That was me, like, rubbing my hands together.
I understand.
And kind of like a
Yeah. No, I too.
anticipation.
I too am very much looking forward to January. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic, and I'm looking forward to see where he goes. So, I believe you have a second story for us, Chris.
I do, and it's a big. We mentioned a couple weeks back. Sorry, hiccups.
It's okay.
Mentioned a couple weeks back that Scott Atherton has retired from his job as president of IMSA. Well, this story is about his replacement. John Doonan has been appointed president of the International Motorsports Association effective January 1st, 2020. Doonan has an impressive CV, having joined Mazda in 2003 and being promoted to Director of Motorsport for Mazda North America operations in 2011. He's responsible for the success of the RX. He oversaw the RX-8 in the Rolex series. I actually saw that car race. The Skyactiv D diesel engine that ran in both the Grand Am Mazda 6 GX and the IMSA prototype program. He's also one of the figureheads behind the Mazda Road to 24, a grassroots ladder program that allows drivers to ascend to the top of the North American sports car racing echelon. This includes the Global MX-5 Cup, and most recently, the new Mazda 3 TCR program. He oversees the Mazda RT24P DPI program run by Mazda Team Yost. He replaces the outgoing president, Scott Atherton, who retired following Petit Le Mans.
I'm worried that he might be biased towards Mazda.
I don't think so. As I said before, he's a fan first. He's going to basically read the fan feedback.
Okay.
He's gonna read the feedback that he gets from fans and teams and manufacturers. And honestly, if anyone can replace Scott Atherton, I think it's John Doonan. Honestly, I think he's a very smart man. He's one of the smartest people in the paddock, and I think he'll do an amazing job.
Well, we'll see how it works out. Yeah.
I think he'll do an amazing job as Prez. As the president.
Prez.
I certainly hope so. We've been enjoying a lot of the action that not John Doonan, Scott Atherton's been responsible for. He's done very, very well with IMSA, and we hope we'll be seeing the same sort of stuff from John Doonan. Anyway,
hopefully he'll bring.
Should we move on to our final segment?
He'll also be, I believe, in negotiations with the ACO over the DPI 2.0 regs as well. So he'll be trying to court manufacturers to come in and. Is it January yet?
Oh, not yet. All right.
I'm like
a
kid at Christmas time.
Indeed, it's time for
miscellaneous stories and points that we missed, and therefore recovering now TM.
Bing indeed. So, who are we going to start with? How about me, since it's an F1 story? So the first story that we have with miscellaneous stories and points that we missed and are therefore covering now TM Bing is that Toro Rosso's name change to AlphaTauri has been approved, meaning I believe they are going to switch to AlphaTauri for 2020, with AlphaTauri being their clothing brand, I believe, or Red Bull's clothing brand. And I've just looked it up. Scuderia AlphaTauri Honda are on the entry list for next season. So there you go, new name to get used to. But I am gonna miss the Toro Rosso name, since I very much grew up with it. It's been a part of Formula One for as long as I can remember. And, I remember them getting their first win, their first pole, their first podium, which was all on the same weekend, obviously. But still, it's only a name change, nothing too significant, but a change it is.
In Chris's heart, it's still Minardi. Anyway,
Sure.
Because Minardi is... Minardi has always been my favorite minnow. And always will be.
That does mean that in spirit, Minardi got a victory.
Yep. And it actually, I believe, is only the second time that a Minardi has led a race. After Martini led, in the actual Minardi in 1989 at Portugal, I believe.
Huh, really? Okay.
He led for, I think, one corner.
Lovely. Okay, so we've now got an Australian story, and that will be Jack's.
Yes, we did. Oh, supercars are set. Well, they are set to take over Australian GT, which is probably a good thing, because Australian GT is kind of dead.
Well, it isn't.
Well, it is. So Supercars, they of course do the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship and of course all the feeder series, and they are responsible for the Bathurst 12 Hour as well. So if we can basically get more stuff like the Bathurst 12 Hour and just turn that into a series, that'd be fantastic. And hopefully Australian GT will become a bit more prominent than it has been. So now we have some news about Autosport.
Right, Chris, do you want to take this since we've both done one? I can hear you're not too happy about this.
Autosport is going to be phasing out magazine, like the print copies. And of course, not without selling them for a massive markup of £10.99 for a British customer per issue. But like, I get that print media is dying, but Autosport is one of those, like, Autosport's quality has actually kind of been on a sharp decline. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed that, but like, it's been on a bit of a sharp decline since the Motorsport Group bought them. Or even before that, actually.
I've got a good solution, actually.
Start our own magazine?
No, just don't follow Motorsport. That's how I get around it. But anyway, no, it's true that Motorsport prints aren't going to be around for much longer, for better or for worse. And I personally do think that is for better, since I think the internet is more accessible, it's more convenient, and you know, it was always going to go this way, so it's not too big of a shock. I think really everyone just wants to hate on the decision because it's Autosport and their quality has been going down, and yeah.
And also overcharging for something that isn't very good.
Yeah.
Is just
never going to be popular, is it?
Like, honestly, here's the thing. I have a few issues of Autosport in my house. One actually from December 1999, in fact. It was it's the greatest drivers, I think, it was the I forget which issue it was, but it was December 1999. There's just something about having a magazine in print.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because you can't really look over old internet things and go, like, it doesn't give the same sense of nostalgia, except maybe sometimes when you're discovering an old YouTube video you haven't seen for 10 years or something. But like, you don't own that. Whereas with magazine copies, I recently discovered an edition of F1 Racing from 2008. 2007, in fact, where they talked about the top 100 Formula One drivers of all time. It's amazing to see how much updating would need to be done if that was going to be accurate now. But yeah, no, it was just wonderful to have it, and I still have copies from 2004, 2005, 2006, so yeah,
I'm currently holding a copy of F1 Racing from 2015. It's
okay. I have one from 2005. Booyah!
I got some. I actually have some old issues of On Track magazine that I got at a flea market. And they're in the shrink wrap. between 1988 and 1990.
New title of this podcast: Chris has issues.
Oh man.
And that's not just my love life. Ah.
Sorry. Just the way I heard it.
Another story that we have.
You were saying like, oh, I've got issues with autosport in my house, and I was thinking like, I've got a spray for that. Sorry, you can tell I'm tired.
But no, no, that was for the previous joke. But honestly, I am gonna miss the print issues. I liked it actually when it was the big. Remember the big issues that they would have, like they actually were like
World Hunger.
Yeah.
no, like the big, almost looked like a copy of the Daily Express.
I don't know. I never subscribed to Autosport, so I wouldn't know. All I know is they're clickbait articles.
Is Nico Rosberg's career is Flame's career over?
Anyway,
Is
so
Explosion's career over?
So that's that.
Yeah.
Right here,
Alright,
what do we have
so
next?
The next one.
We have Lewis Hamilton has now expressed interest in Formula E. He told
He has not
Motorsport.com.
expressed interest.
Oh, it says now.
That was a
Okay,
typo,
not
my
expressed.
apologies.
Got it. That's okay. He's not
That
interested.
was a typo. Sorry, I wasn't.
Yeah, that's
Wasn't
good. You
concentrating
know,
when I wrote it.
I couldn't see Hamilton in Formula E, and truly, I think that would be awful for his reputation. And
He also can't tailor make the rule book around him, so
oh, he
has
could. He could.
He knows he has no chance to actually win a race in Formula E, so that's why he's not doing it.
Okay. Like,
Plus, I still think his next career after he finally retires from Formula One out of spite is a rap career.
oh really? No, he's gonna go into like fashion design. He's already got a fashion design company, and he seems very interested in that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, to be honest, I don't see him doing any racing after he retires from Formula One. He's very much a celebrity first and a driver second, and I think when he can't be a driver, he'll be a celebrity first and a fashion designer second, or something like that. So yeah, there's that.
Still, I'm gonna draw as many views as I can from the video I made on Hamilton, sort of expressing interest in Formula E and that little night he had with Toto
You do
Wolff.
that. You do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. There's the video.
Do you realize that
Scroll down.
Do you realize that a night with Total Wolff sounds like the worst fan fiction you could ever hear?
Oh my goodness.
Except it was true. Yeah, I know, it was true. It happened, and it sounds like a terrible fan fiction. Anyway, should we move on to a little bit of NASCAR news that we have?
Yeah.
Yeehaw!
Yes. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Is going to be replacing Chris Buescher, who, by the way, is replacing Stenhouse in the JTG Doherty seat next year, the second car, with teammate, I believe, being Ryan Prix. Now, all I can say is not a good move, I'm afraid. Unless you have
probably not.
Unless you have a big damage bill. Unless you have enough cars for him to destroy. But like,
Becky Stenhouse Jr.
He really is out of his element in the Cup Series. He really is. Like, he's just. I don't know.
I think he maybe should have stayed stayed in the X a little bit longer. He actually had a pretty good amount of success in the Xfinity Series. He won the championship twice, and I reckon maybe a few more years there would have done him good. I think maybe he was put into the Cup Series a little bit too early, to be honest.
No, he peaked in what is now Xfinity. Yeah. He's one of those drivers that I think peaked in other series. He's one of those that like did well in other series, but was rubbish in the top series, which I think you also have a video on, if I remember correctly.
I do. There's a video. It's like the one before this. I have a video for everything. I'm like a Swiss Army knife.
Lovely.
I had to get that plug in.
Yes, the plugs for other stuff on this channel. Just scroll down from this podcast and just watch everything else that's here. That's the plug.
Plug.
Yeah, Super Utes.
Yeah, and I think under the circumstances, Jack should take this story because it's Australian.
Yes. Alright, so Super Utes will be switching to V8 engines for 2020, and can I just say, that is fantastic, because the diesel engines in those trucks sound really, really bad. So,
I liked them! I liked the...
No, they...
I liked the diesel engine, but like...
Chug, 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 chug.
Basically, except really loud and annoying. So thank you for V8 engines 2020, perfect.
I think they're gonna get more entries.
Yeah, that'll be good. And I might actually watch it if they have V8 engines, because the diesel engines sounded really terrible. Really terrible.
Although I will say, the Super Ute races that I've seen this season have been, they've been action-packed. It's been fantastic. Bathurst, especially, was just absolutely fantastic.
I still like what was the old series called? It wasn't Super Utes. It's like the V8 Super. No, what was it called?
The Utes. The V8 Ute series, I think.
There is something like that. Yeah, they're like they're not the big rolly Utes. They're the low slung fast Utes, right?
Yeah, the basically Commodores or Falcons with truck beds.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Or as we called them here, El Caminos.
Yes, yeah. The El Caminos could very much run in those series.
If any GM executives are watching this, first of all, thank you. Second of all, bring back the El Camino. Can you please bring back the El Camino? You can put it on a Buick Regal chassis, which is actually a ZB Commodore. You could put it on that. You could put the Ute bed in. Call it the El Camino. Chevrolet. Badged as a Chevy. There, I've solved it. And can I have my money now? Although I will say, as a bit of a sidebar, I actually saw the best little Ute about a block from my house.
They're not proper Utes unless they're the SsangYong Utes I watched John Hindhaugh race. Hindhaugh even gave me a tour around his car, like a personal tour of his SsangYong Ute at Brands Hatch in late 2017. About this time 2 years ago, actually. And it was one of the best experiences that I've had at a racetrack ever, with, you know, the Hindy himself showing me the interior of this funny little pickup truck. Yeah, that was nice.
And do those SsangYong Utes, do they tend to roll?
Yes, yeah, there have been occasions. None of them rolled on that day, although John Hindhaugh did kill a rabbit by accident, so yeah.
I love rollovers. Oh!
I've seen BMW. I've seen BMW compact cars roll at Brands Hatch. Sorry, Chris. What?
We have just actually gotten some breaking news from the Mexican Grand Prix.
Okay.
Max Verstappen has been stripped of his Mexican Grand Prix pole after the stewards handed him a 3-place grid penalty for failing to slow for Valtteri Bottas's Q3 crash.
Yes, and that Jack Aitken picked up on that on Twitter. He pointed it out, and I'm not surprised about that at all. Yeah, you know, I think Verstappen brought that on himself there. So that means that, okay, well, I know we weren't going to do spoilers.
The revised order will be Charles Leclerc, Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton, and Max Verstappen, the front 2 rows.
Yeah, apologies to anyone who we just spoiled the result to, but yeah, that's interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing Verstappen fighting through. Wow. Okay, well, there you have it.
That's exactly what happened to Bryce Fullwood in the Super 2 race at Bathurst. Come to think of it. Because you remember also, Fullwood set his lap on the last lap when there was a car stuck in the gravel trap.
Exactly, and that's how you know that they deserve a penalty, because they clearly haven't backed off if they've gone purple. So, there you have it.
It's a shame. Bryce miles ahead, so like if he had just slowed down, he would have been fine.
Exactly, and that's why he should have done. So anyway, that's that.
Okay.
We move on now to. Is it okay? Okay, so right, last weekend I spent. Okay, I spent the weekend at Donington Park in the UK. Do you want me to? Is it okay if I tell stories about that?
Go ahead, I love it.
Right,
I'd love to hear
so
this.
Donington is a wonderful track. On the Sunday, I did go for both Saturday and Sunday, but on the Sunday, I walked around the whole track and took pictures from different areas while the races were going on. It was absolutely wonderful. I went for UK TCR, which was a wonderful weekend. Of course, the grid was buffed up with non-TCR cars because it's had a very disappointing entry this year. So this time we had the biggest entry list that we've had all season, with 14 cars. Unfortunately, one of them didn't turn up, so we had 13 cars, and some of them were BTCC cars rather than actual TCRs. But never mind, we still got a good race, and there really wasn't much time difference at all between the two of them. They were fighting between the two types of cars. They were fighting with each other, and it was all okay. So some of the notable cars that were racing in the field, or some of the notable drivers rather, we had both of Matt Neal's sons, Will Neal and Henry Neal. Sorry, were you going to interrupt there?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So both of Matt Neal's sons, Henry and Will Neal, were racing. Will Neal was actually racing his dad's BTCC car, and he did awfully. It was really funny. So I was watching by the bridge. You know where the bridge is at Donington, just heading up the hill after the old hairpin. And as he came through the old hairpin on a sighter lap, not even on the formation lap, just a sighter lap, he managed to spin it into the gravel. Luckily managed to recover to the track without getting beached. Then on the first lap of the race, came through side by side with Dan Kent's Hyundai, turned straight in on him, and managed to spin himself off the road and into the wall. So a second incident in the space of about 5 minutes for Will Neal. The car didn't appear to have any damage, so he returned to the race, and then under safety car, the next lap, under safety car, trying to catch up to the safety car chain, spun it again in exactly the same place, coming out of the old hairpin up the hill, and ended up beached in the gravel. So there you have it. About 3 times in something like 5 or 6 minutes, Will Neal spun off the road, and only once in those 3 times they were under green flag conditions. How embarrassing.
I
Especially,
guess talent doesn't run in the family.
yeah, well, it kind of does, because his brother Henry Neal won race 2. So his brother Henry Neal actually won the second race on the Sunday, really really by quite a long way. Actually, it was a dominant win, and Henry Neal won the championship overall. Although he was not seen as the champion by the organisers due to the fact he was not driving a TCR car. He was driving an old BTCC Honda, not one that had been driven by Matt Neal. But anyway, other notable drivers included Adam Morgan. He won race 1 of the weekend. He is, of course, BTCC driver Adam Morgan, and he also finished second in race 2. James Turkington, who is Colin Turkington's brother, of course, he won the TCR class championship, despite not really doing that well at this particular excuse me, this particular weekend of racing. And another notable driver in the field was Stuart Lines, who actually runs the UK TCR series, and he was racing a BTCC Opel Astra. And he also did badly and ended up spinning in both races, I think. So I nicknamed him Wonky Lines. So there you go. Oh, Henry Neal! Oh my word! Actually, the first race was really bad for the Neals, because not only did you have Will Neal spinning off 3 times in 5 minutes, but also you had Henry Neal leading the race in the early stages, going defensive on Darryl Wilson, who was yet to serve a drive-through penalty for a jump start. So they weren't even in the same race, effectively. Neal obviously didn't know that, defended from him, they came together, and Neal ended up spinning off and into the gravel. That must be so gutting when he realised that, you know, he wasn't even racing Wilson for position, and that of course ended up giving the race victory to Adam Morgan. And then there was Josh Coggan as well, who was on course for 3rd place in that race, going off into the gravel about 3 laps in a row through McLean's up towards Coppice. Yeah, it was a pretty chaotic race 1, race 2 not so much, but that was very exciting. And I should also briefly mention that there were very exciting races in the support categories as well. The Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup was very close all the way through, as was the Mazda MX-5 Championship. Those were ridiculously close. And the Honda Civic Cup as well, those were so much faster than I expected, really quick. But yeah, the car that really stood out to me was one of the cars in the All-Stars race. Basically it was a race for anyone that had turned up, and it was a Ford Capri, which I sent a picture of to Chris, and this Ford Capri beat every single Mazda MX-5. I couldn't believe it. I was sure the MX-5s were going to smoke it, since Donington Park is it's a very grip-based circuit, and I was sure that the agile, nimble MX-5s were going to overtake it and blast away, but they just couldn't pass it. The Capri was holding them off, and it held them off right to the end, and it beat them all. Oh, it was amazing. So yeah, well done, Capri.
And also, it should be noted that the livery is exactly the same as
The
a
Opel
mighty German, a mighty German car with the tail of a mighty German automobile with a tail of a fox.
Exactly, yeah. A couple of other quick shout outs very quickly. My brother actually drove a Fiesta Junior car. He didn't race it, although he was testing that weekend, and that is actually why I went to the Donington Park circuit in the first place. And I believe he was actually the quickest driver in his session. It was a wet session, and well, he certainly seemed to have more bravery than I did. And also a Peugeot 206 went for a roll in the gravel at Old Hairpin. Driver was okay, it wasn't a significant roll, but still, always interesting to see a car pointing the wrong way up. So anyway, that was that. Sorry for waffling on. Back to you, Jack.
Anyway, I think that's about time we wrapped it up. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for this week of Motorsport Recently. I've been Jack McKenzie, and joining me on the mic has been the wonderful Chris Whitfield and Caitlin Penny commentary. And it's been a pretty good episode, actually. And we'll see you whenever we see you. I'm not sure when the next one of these is going to be, because I'm going to be quite busy over the next few weeks with exams for the end of the school year. So as soon as school ends for the year, we should have a few more episodes, and we'll see where we go from there. So anyway, like, subscribe. Thank you, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Ta-ta!
Ta-ra. Good luck on exams. Ta-ra.